When thou sittest to eat with a ruler, consider diligently what is before thee. Put a knife to thy throat if thou be a man given to appetite. Be not desirous of his dainties, for they are deceitful meat. Labor not to be rich. Cease from thine own wisdom. Wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle toward heaven. Eat thou not the bread of him that has an evil eye, neither desire thou his dainty meats. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. The morsel which thou hast eaten thou shalt vomit up, and lose thy sweet words. Speak not in the ears of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of thy words. Remove not the old landmark, and enter not into the fields of the fatherless. For their Redeemer is mighty, and he shall plead their cause with thee. Apply thine heart unto instruction, and thine ears to the words of knowledge. Withhold not correction from the child, for if thou beatest him with the rod, he shall not die. Thou shalt beat him with the rod, and shall deliver his soul from torment. It's rendered hell. My son, if thine heart be wise, my heart shall rejoice, even mine. Yea, my reign shall rejoice, even when thy lips speak right things. Proverbs chapter 23, verses 1 through 16. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have swayed the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me and my seed, that we go not astray henceforth and forever. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes. We thank God for those of you. We thank God for those of you that have been with us since the beginning, and those of you who's hanging in there, here and there's about. We thank the Most High for you. And we thank the Most High for those of you who have just subscribed. Yes, we thank God for those of you who have just subscribed. We give God the glory and the praise for you. And also those of you, excuse me, who are just viewing, as well as those of you that are about to subscribe. Calling those things that are not as though they are. Yes, you're walking with Mr. Clay. I am Mr. Clay. And we're still in the book of Nehemiah. The restoration. Yes, the restoration. We all want to be restored. Yes. Well, this time as you prepare, we are in Nehemiah chapter 12. Yes, Nehemiah chapter 12. The book which me and Nehemiah wrote. You know, one thing I did understand. You have those of other religions and atheists and naysayers and all of those that would say things as this. They would say, who wrote the Bible? I'm going to put this to you. One man wrote Genesis. One man wrote Exodus. One man wrote Deuteronomy. One man wrote the book of Nehemiah. One man wrote each book. So you can't say this to a fool, but he that is wisdom and is truly seeking wisdom may ask these questions, maybe out of concern or out of wanting to know. Some of my other religions, such as Islam, would ask that how many men wrote the Bible. Only one. There are many Bibles in the Bible. Bible means book. If you want to put it that way. In our language, it means book. Regardless of what etymology you might say it came from, it means book. You have to understand, the enemy has paid millions, trillions of dollars, uncountless numbers of dollars to keep you confused. Yes, he has. He has done this to keep you confused. And you have to call things as you see them and as they are. Yes, we do. So one man wrote each book in the Bible. So who wrote the Bible? One man. Okay, let's put it this way. Okay, what man wrote the Bible? And then you go down the whole line of the books of the Bible. The New Testament is letters. It's not the Bible. It was infused in the Bible. Many things have been infused in what we call the Old Testament. They have been infused in there, but the law straightens it all out. Even the historical count of the law, who can argue against it? It's the same laws they use here. Adultery. Do you not know in the U.S. you can be persecuted? Now, even now you can be thrown in jail for adultery. Yes, you can. It's a law. Whether they enforce it or not, I do not know. It's a law that you cannot kill your babies. Or should I say that word? It's a law, whether they're born or unborn. It's a law. There's laws for everything. Whether they're enforced or not is upon the government and those who are charged to enforce the law. But they rather enforce another law that seems to me is ludicrous. But either way, nevertheless, there are laws. And these laws really reflect the commandments, statutes, and ordinances of the Most High. You will hold your hand over the flag over your right heart. This is not a law. It's a thing that they ask you to do when the anthem is played. And also there are laws. So you have to understand, Israel, when you read this, Israel is a nation. Derives from Jacob, whose leader was God until God democratically stepped down. The people wanted God to step down, not only collectively, but individually. You don't want God to be ahead of you. When you accept the Most High, you accept His laws, statutes, ordinances. Now, some things we cannot keep because we're not in the country. See, we don't get this. You're not in Israel. You're not in the place where God has granted unto you. You're not in that place. No, you're not. You have to make the best you can of where you're at. There are no Levitical priests that have been identified at this time. What you see is a figment of their imagination. They don't even know who they are. But God will quicken all when it's time. He will let them know who they are when it's time, and they will be known by their doing. Now, Nehemiah, restore. See, this is where restoration is going to come back. They wanted the Levites to come. They wanted to restore things. They wanted to get it together. You see, they wanted to get it together. And they became a nation. They had those that could do the duties to remain in Jerusalem, and those others, they were glad that they could live without Jerusalem throughout the land of Judea to repopulate it. The repopulation had gone down through what? Captivity. And then we're going to stick with that segment of history. This is history. Yes, very much history of a governor that gave up his whole governorship or his presidency because the people would not keep their end of the bargain. See, you say democracy is for the people, but the people have to agree to the laws that are put forth in that democracy. See, else it's just a dictatorship. You elect politicians and they give you a line, and next thing you know, they get into office, take all your money, take everything you have, and give it to others, and then next thing you know, here they go again, wanting to be re-elected. Who was electing these people? You ask yourself. But either way, nevertheless, Nehemiah chapter 12. Now these are the priests and the Levites that went up with Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and Yeshua. I don't hardly like to pronounce the J's. And Sariah, Jeremiah, Ezra, all these were mentioned. They wrote books. Israel was the book we just came out of. We shall see something about Zerubbabel in other books that were written. They were not big books. These are small books. They wrote these things by hand, so they cannot be. It's just kind of hard writing a lot of things by hand. Moses did. He had scribes. These people wrote this stuff themselves. Now, Amariah, Malach, Hattush, Shechaniah, Rehum, Meremoth, Edu, Geneto, Abijah. Isn't that a place in Africa? Abijah? Or somewhere in Africa, there's Abijah. Apparently, these people who kept that name for some reason after they left Judah. Meunian, Madiah, Bilgah, Shemaiah, Yarabib, Jedidiah, Shalu, Amok, Hilkiah, Jedidiah. These are the chief of the priests of their brethren in the days of Yeshua. Moreover, the Levites, Yeshua, Bani, Kadmiel, Sherebiah, Judah, and Mattaniah was over the thanksgiving. He and his brethren. In other words, giving thanks, offering, praying, the offering of thanksgiving. It's in the book of Leviticus. It tells you how to do it. Just giving an offering of thanksgiving. Yes, there was an offering of thanksgiving. Glory to God. But either way, or to the I am, he and his brethren, also Bagbukia, and Uni and their brethren were over against them with the watches. And Yeshua begot Jehoiakim begot Elishibib, and Elishibib begot Jehoiada, and Jehoiada begot Jonathan, and Jonathan begot Jaddua. And in the days of Jehoiakim were priests, the chief of the fathers of Sariah and Miriah and Jeremiah. Remember Jeremiah, that has to be the prophet. And Hananiah, that is another prophet. Of who? They were what? Sons of Yeshua, who was a Levite. Now, of Israel, you notice these prophets were these prophets were Levites. Some of them were, but a lot of prophets were Levites. And of Israel, and Meshulam, and Amariah, and Jehohanan, and Meliku, and Jonathan, and Shebaniah, Joseph. Yes, there's that name again, huh? Yeah, there's more than one Joseph. Yes, many Josephs they have. Yes, name them after certain fathers they had. Of Hiram, Adnah, and Meroth, and Hilkiah, and of Edu, Zechariah, and Jenedithan, and Meshulam, and Abijah, and Zikri, and Miniamim, and Moadiah, and Piltai, and Bilgah, and Shamua, and Shemaiah, and we'll say that with a Y, Yehonethan, and Jorabib, Mattanai, and Jedani, Uzzi, and Salai, and Kalai, and Amok, Eber, named after their father. Eber is the father of the Hebrews. Yes, Eber. Now, of Hilkiah, Hashabiah, and Jedidiah, Nathaniel. The Levites in the days of Elishibib, Jehoiada, and Johanan, and Jaddua were recorded of the chief of the fathers, also the priest to the reign of Darius the Persian. Darius was king at the time. The sons of Levi, the chief of the fathers, were written in the books of the Chronicles. Yes, it's in the book of the Chronicles. You go back to the book of Chronicles, okay? Even until the days of Johanan, the son of Elishabib. And the chief of the Levites was Hashabiah, Sherebiah, and Jeshua, the son of Kadmiel. There's that L in that name. It has to do with the Most High, the I Am. With their brethren over against them to praise and give thanks according to the commandment of David, the man of the I Am. Now, David was to give thanks before the offering, to continually give thanks. Do you not know to give thanks is before God this very day? He even describes it not only in the book of Daniel, the book of all the prophetic books, and the book of Enoch. These things were established on earth. God was just not getting people to worship him for no reason at all. These things he was about to bring heaven to merge with the men of earth. If only Israel would accept example, and those who would accept Israel and want to join Israel, then Israel would have spread like the spread of the sea. But the Satans, not a Satan, there's no spirit equal with God. That's why they praise him and worship him. Even the Satans worship God. Whether they accept their worship or not, they worship God. Because God is almighty, powerful, a sure defense in time of trouble. Yes, God is, even the I Am. Glory to God. When I say God, I mean the power that created, that spirit that moved upon the waters. Yes, that's what I mean. Yes, even so. Now he says, these were in the days of Jehoiakim, the sons of Yeshua, the sons of Jozadak, in the days of Nehemiah, the governor. Now Nehemiah was the governor of what? Judah or Jerusalem. He was the governor. Now there was a leader in the temple. That was a whole separate place. Now you have to realize how certain religious organizations have set themselves. There were temple guards. There were guards in the house that Solomon built for the Most High. There were guards. There were doorkeepers, gatekeepers, porters, the same as these heathen have constructed for themselves, being far apart, far away from the lineage of Israel, even Jacob. Not even related, and not even an inkling of a DNA. And have combined that which the Egyptians used to do, an abomination unto the Most High, using all kind of things. They combined Egyptology with, should I say, the Old Testament is really a combination of Egyptology and the law or the way of Israel. Because Israel had their government was that of the Most High, even the I Am. We don't get it. You don't hear me, as they would say. You don't hear me. You don't understand. He said, see and know that you understand me. God wants to establish a government among men, just as it is among angels, or should I say spirits. These spirits die not. He wanted to establish these things, but men were easily swayed in their hearts by these spirits, as Abram had noticed. Now he says, we're going to go ahead on. He says, the sons of Levi, the chief fathers, were written in the books of the Chronicles. Okay, 24, verse 24. And the chief of the Levites, Hashabiah and Sherebiah and Yeshua, the son of Kadmiel, and their brethren over against them to praise and give thanks according to the commandment of David, the man of God. And also he was a prophet because of prophecy. Ward over against ward. Mattaniah and Habukiah and Obadiah and Meshullam and Talma and Akabub and porters keeping the ward at the thresholds of the gates. Yes, I am talking from the King James. It's no different than your New Age Bible. King James only authorized. As wicked as he was, God took him by the nostrils. I call those things that are base to confound those who think they're right, is what it would say. That are weak, that confound the wise. God do these things that turn you backwards. Don't you know Deuteronomy chapter 28, what he said that he would do? And it's up to you. That's why the Christian man that came and says he chased God. You have to chase him. And to chase God and to know him, you have to get away from the crowd. You have to understand and know and come to the point where you're willing to receive what the scriptures is telling you. The New Testament is a different book. It's just like the Quran, any other book, the Book of Mormon. They're all different. They're pushed aside. They're not to be compared with that book which contains, or the books which contain the Torah or the laws of Moses. The Book of Enoch, it's not to be compared because it's of a different system. It's of a matriarchal system. Nothing to do with God, no. So this is why more women are in the church, what you call the church, because it caters to them. But you find out when you get into the thing of the law, we're talking about men. But you cannot have the New Testament combined with the Old. Best to throw the New Testament letters away. They're all dictated by one man who is not the man that wrote all that stuff, but the fact is there was a family. Do your research on the Pisos, how these things come about. Now, yes, it's to confuse you. It's for God to turn you away. But when you chase God, when God calls you and you answer and God says, hey, this is me. I'm not your lolly-dolly lollipop man that gives you chocolate candies on Wicked Willy Wonka's farm. No, he does not. God gives you hardcore righteousness. In other words, fairness. In other words, what is he deems to be worthy of the demise of the violator or the perpetrator, that is to be. That perpetrator or that violator will not live in a prison to live as long as his victim has. No, God don't do that. That is of heathen, that is pagan, and that is greed. Then robbing those who were supposed to receive the reparations reparations and retributions, to receive the reparations of those who have violated them. Whether it was a beating, a robbery, it had nothing to do. The others was death. But there's only a few things that we do. Extortion, all these things that has to do with theft. Thou shalt not steal. Oh, I can get into it. Let me stop. We'll say that for another day. Let us finish. And at the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, they sought the Levites out of all their places to bring them to Jerusalem to keep the dedication with gladness, both with thanksgivings and with singings and with cymbals and with harps. In other words, the house of God had order. There was nobody running around shouting out the walls and busting down everything, crawling over the floor, running. Oh no, they had order. And the sons of the singers gathered themselves together, brought out the plain country around about Jerusalem, brought out, both out of the plain countries around, they came to one place to worship God. Yes, they did. There shouldn't be millions of churches everywhere. There should be one place that people come, whether they pack it out to the full to worship God. Yes, you have people teaching. You have the Levites or the teachers teaching the law and making sure people understand and keep those things, it's in their heart to keep those things, to keep from being punished by the law that God had told Israel to execute, to enforce. These laws was to be enforced by Israel. So here they come in the New Testament saying, hey, you can get away with it, but we're going to get you in it. No. God told you to do it now. The adulterers, the fornicators, the effeminate, the liars, he told you to do that which he commanded you to do now in the country, to judge them and sentence them according to the law that he handed to Moses. That's what he did. But no, you're going to listen to pagans who wrote 27 letters of lies infused with some Old Testament stuff? You're just as foolish as the foolish. Wicked. This is why you suffer. This is why the things come down on you. This is why your enemy is strong. This is why the land your ancestors once were in spewed you out. Because you would not enforce what God told you to enforce. They would not even enforce when God told them to drive out the Canaanites out of the land. Being fearful. Listening to heathen. Oh, that's not right. That's not humane. You're not humane. Who created humans? God. You're wicked. And you're loving the wicked above those that are innocent and right. That is wickedness to its core. And paganism at its best. They hate righteousness and they love the wicked. The woman gets up there and shows her body. She would be beat with stripes. The man gets up there and pulls out his shirts and wiggle his area of his genitals. He would be beat with stripes. These things are fascinating. Yes, they are, aren't they? But let us continue. The sons of the singers gathered themselves together, both out of the plain country round about Jerusalem, from the villages of Netophathi. Don't get me wrong. When virgins are before their potential husbands in some cultures, they dance. The belly dance, or they dance. And he chooses what wife he wants. In other words, God gives the woman her features to attract the man. Because really, there's nothing about a man I don't think should attract a woman, except for what she's been brainwashed to think. But either way, or his money. Well, I'll leave that alone, I digress. But anyway, from the house of Gilgal out of the fields of Geba to Azmepha, for the singers had builded them villages round about Jerusalem, so they could be able to get there in time to sing before the I Am. And the priests and the Levites purified themselves and purified the people at the gates and the walls. Yes, to come before God in his temple in the order that he has set. Yes, we do have to have Levites. There is no man after no order in the Melchizedek. Melchizedek wasn't even said to have an order. What book is there that declares that Melchizedek had an order other than made up by a heathen to justify their pagan god Yeshua, Jesus, Yahushua? I don't care whether you paint them black, white, blue, green, yellow, whatever. It's idolatry. Thou shalt not have no other god before me. Thou shalt not make any images of anything, earth, above, space, whatever, above, below the sea. Thou shalt not make them to bow thyself down to them, he said. There's nothing wrong with you making images. There's nothing wrong with you painting paintings and all that stuff. To bow yourself down to them is where you violate and throw God in the backwaters of your sewage dumps. You have to hear what the Spirit of the Most High says. It's only one Spirit. But we all are made by the Spirit called the I Am. And the priests and the Levites purified themselves. Then I brought up, verse 31, brought up the princes of Judah upon the wall and appointed two great companies of them that gave thanks, whereof one went on the right hand upon the wall toward the dung gate, That's the sewage pipes. That's the way they made it. And after them went Hosea, after the princes of Judah. You have to realize the heathen have translated this thing, and they've come up with all kind of stuff in their translations. Israel and Meshullam, Judah and Benjamin and Shemaiah and Jeremiah. Listen, if you're not of the bloodline of Jacob, and you think that you are, and you transgress the law by changing it, and changing the times and the dates, you're a liar. You're wrong. See, this is why I don't care how much a man or a woman say they abide by the law. When you go by that New Testament and the things that it says, you might as well go ahead and be, should I say, a pagan. Might as well build an idol. Worship the man at the feet of the Jesus or the Mary or whatever. Whatever. You can paint him black, white, yellow, whatever. I haven't seen an Oriental Jesus. I mean, hey, who knows? It don't matter. He's a figment. That made a statement to me. Now, Shemaiah, Jeremiah, and certain other priests, sons with trumpets, namely Zechariah, the son of Jonathan. Zechariah blew a trumpet. The son of Shemaiah, the son of Matthiah, and the sons of Micaiah, and the sons of Zechariah, the son of Asaph. Yes, he was a very musical man before the Most High. And his brethren Shemaiah and Azarel and Mahiah. And he wasn't effeminate either. He wasn't there playing the organ with rings on every finger, looking like someone in a, I'm not going to say, let me quit. But either way, at the foundation gate which was over against him, and they went up by the stairs of the city of David, going up the wall above the house of David, even unto the water gate. There was a gate that let in water. Excuse me. And there's a gate that let out the dung and refuse of bodily fluids and solids. And the other company of them that gave thanks that went over against them, that I after them, and after the people upon the wall, from beyond the tower of the furnaces, even unto the broad wall, and from above the gate of Ephraim, and above the old gate, and above the fish gate, and the tower of Haniel, and the tower of Mia, even to the sheep gate, and they stood still in the prison gate. So stood two companies of them that gave thanks in the house of God, or the I am, and I and the half of the rulers with me. They gave thanks. Gave thanks. They gave thanks. And the priests Eliakim, Messiah, and Miniam, and Micaiah, and Eloniah, and Zechariah, and Hananiah with trumpets, and Maaseiah, and Shemaiah, and Eleazar, and Uzzi, and Jehonan, and Malchiah, and Elam, and Ezer, and the singers sang out loud, yeah, with Jezariah, the overseer, what? Of the temple. Yes. So that day they offered great sacrifices and rejoiced. There had something that had to come through them, that God had mercy. We've changed our ways, and we've been brought out of captivity because of what we have done. And we are so thankful that God brought us back to himself. Now we can prosper. Now we can be above our enemies. Now we can be a head and not the tail. We can be that which is powerful, and the land will not spew us out if we do that which is right. Yes, it's a rejoicing. Oh, glory to the Most High, even the I am. Yes, it is a rejoicing. So that rejoicing of Jerusalem was heard even afar off. Don't you see what the enemy is doing? It's confusing you. You will not read the law. Many of you have been thrown in a monkey wrench, and it was called the New Testament. That's the biggest monkey wrench ever. And it just messed you up from a baby. Through your mother, your grandmama, your grandfather. You know, they didn't know nothing because God took remembrance of himself away from them through the colonizer, through those who had shifted them into Islamic lands and enslaved them, calling on their Allah, and then the other ones calling on their Jesus. And then those of those that said they were of the house of Israel were in cahoots also. So God took you, slung you left and right. Now you don't know which way to turn. But his law is still here, still there. Now we're going to wrap this up. I want to finish this chapter. The singers and the songs of the praise and thanksgiving unto God. And all Israel in the days of Zerubbabel, in the days of Nehemiah, gave the portions of the singers and the porters every day his portion, and they sanctified the holy things unto the Levites and sanctified them unto the children of Aaron. This was the reason for sacrifices and offerings. This is part of the reason. Some to the Most High, that the smoke would go up, and some to the people and the Levites. There were plenty. There was much. God even multiplied the sheep, the goats, the bullocks, the cows, the doves, everything that a man could eat, even from the grain. He multiplied it that they all might be full that come to worship him and praise him in thanksgiving from a pure heart. Yes, and sanctified them unto the children of Aaron. All praises to the Most High. And if we do those things that are pleasing in the sight of the Most High, and rejoice before him, and understand and know the Most High, why he does what he does, why he allows what he allows, then we will have peace.